Good day, Michael here. Today I've got a review of a new knife that's actually been ordered inside Australia, and this particular knife is made in China but to specification from a company called Tasmanian Tiger. So they do produce their own knives here in Australia, but obviously they've outsourced this particular knife, which is almost a 16 centimetre blade, and they've sourced it to China in 9cr14mov steel. So I had a decision to make. I liked the look of it. It's a slight recurve in the blade, so I thought that'd be good to have something like that for a change. It's got a G10 handle, which is very smooth, I've got to say. So probably not as grippy as some other knives. But what I really wanted to replace was the EF131 knife in this sheath, because I'm not happy with the EF131 steel. It's just too soft. The edge doesn't last. I actually like the knife, but the edge doesn't last, and yeah, I'm just not happy with it. As soon as you start cutting it, basically wears, and it's not the best knife, even though it feels good in the hand and it works well and all that sort of stuff, but it's just rubbish steel, DC53. So I'm going to get rid of that, put it back in its case, and put that one away for now. And this one actually came in this leather case, which, as far as I can smell, it's leather and it looks like leather, but you've got to wander with this kind of real plasticky case, but it's supposed to be leather. It smells kind of like leather. Not totally sure about it. Pleather or whatever they want to call it. Perhaps they reckon it's leather. Fits in there nicely, and it's got a nice logo on it, TTK, Tasmanian Tiger Knives. So designed in Australia to specifications in Australia, supposed to be around the 60 HRC mark, and brought in from China. So I'm okay with that if it performs. And I think honestly, there's a lot of, see, it's a larger knife, and there's a lot of 1095 knives that you could buy similar, and you're going to be paying over $200 if it's in 1095. And I think that this steel should perform as good as a lot of those knives. Possibly not some of the Spanish knives, but they're a lot more expensive, I think. The Joker Nomad now is about $260, and I paid less than $100 for this knife. So I'm hoping it performs better than the EF131. I'm going to compare it to the Ganzo, also in 9cr14mov. So the same steel, much bigger knife, and this is now going to find its home in my good leather sheath. So sheath and knife is looking at around $200 now. So this one better perform. Anyway, it does feel good in the hand. It is slippery, but it feels good in the hand. There's no jimping there. So you're really using it as a full handle knife. You're not trying to choke up or do much on it. You probably could, but there's no jimping. It is fairly sharp on that edge actually, so I'd imagine that it would strike a ferro rod and scrape wood and things like that, of that nature. So I think it'd be good for that. The grind is a hollow grind, and I wasn't overly fussed on that. But I thought, you know what, for the size of the knife, because it's hard to get knives this big from China, they're all 10 centimetres and under, most of them. It's hard to get knives this big. It has got a fairly big guard there. And I thought, well, I'll just put up with the hollow grind, which makes it fairly slicey. And its thickness is probably fairly standard, I think 4 mil. We'll just test that. Yeah, 3.4 mil right on the hammer. So it's 4 mil. And the knife blade is 15.8. I don't even think I can get that high. The actual user edge is, yeah, about 154 millimeters, pretty much, to the plunge grind. Handle, is about 13 centimeters. About 13 centimeters for the handle, which is good. It's got 3 rivets, which is also good. Should hold it securely. And it's got jimping up here, so you do get a little bit of grip out of that there, but it just feels good in the hand. So it's on its factory edge, and I'm going to test it today on some rope to see how it performs, and it's going to belong in the good sheath. And goodbye F and Grey. So we shall start with just the weight. I haven't got scale, so I'll just see if I can get a weight on this thing here. Won't be very accurate, but anyway, see how we go. $225 grams on that. Don't know if you'll be able to see it. 225 grams. Right, so we shall start with the Ganzo. This is a comparison of steels, remembering though, this is the factory edge, so it's going to take quite a few sharpens before we can get the full benefit of the edge and get it as hard as we can. But let's see how we go on this. Excuse me. Show this one on the paper. I have done it before a few times. 10 cuts. Right, there's 10 on the Ganzo. And yes, I can see some glittering on that edge already where it's bent over. Now the Ganzo is struggling on that edge after just 10 cuts, and I can see where it's rolled over on the edge and it's glittering along that edge, and you can see where it's ripping on that rolled over steel. 17-degree edge. I must imagine that this new one will be about 20 degrees, but definitely jagging on that edge after only 10 cuts. Which is a little bit disappointing on the Ganzo. Not real happy with that, not happy with what I'm seeing along that edge. So that's just to show you the Ganzo steel. And really 10 cuts and it's already struggling. This is the new one. It's quite very sharp, actually. Quite impressively sharp. Easily shaving, so well done on the factory edge. No problems there. Yeah, very nice. That's only half the story, is the factory edge. Let's see how it performs after 10 cuts up against the Ganzo. Try and keep it in this portion of the belly, I think. Let's see how it compares. This knife has hardly been reviewed, so I will be keen to do a couple of reviews on it actually. Just today will be the rope cut, but I'll also do some splitting of pine because that's also a good test on its toughness. See how it copes with that, but yeah, I am seeing a little bit of a glitter on the edge there. Let's see. But it is also the factory edge. So I would imagine that it should get better. Right, even though there's a bit of a glitter, it's still easily cutting through. There's just the slightest little hang up there. I can definitely see a couple of marks there. Definitely better than the Ganzo, so we'll do another 10. Maybe I've been a bit harsh on the petrified fish and stuff. And you get these steels and they're, 10 cuts and they're done. Right, there's 20. I haven't had a recurve edge before, so I'll be interested once I'm doing some timber kind of work on it to see how that bites into the timber. Doesn't look like it's fared any worse after, but I can see lights along that edge. Definitely. Maybe it's getting hung up a little bit. I'll go like that, it's better. But it is getting hung up. After 20 cuts, a definite hang up, you can see where it's kind of biting in there. Right there, it's kind of giving the hiccup. So really I would have to definitely stop the test on 20. Yeah, right there. All right, I'll just do a quick go with this one. The old knife. Oh, it is sharp. Gee, I did a good job of sharpening that one. Whew. Really nice. Righto, let's have a quick look. So the Ganzo 10, the new knife, 20, just to show you one more time on the Ganzo, only got through 10 cuts. You can see it rolling over everywhere, and look at that, it's just, yeah, garbage. Very disappointing. All right, let's try this EF131 one more time. It is sharp. Probably making a liar out of me now. There's 10. Remembering this has been sharpened quite a few times. Let's see. Well now, that's doing a pretty good job. I know. It's a little bit shaggy actually. So slow it down. Let's just see how it compares after 20. That's 20 now. On the EF131, I can see lights. A bad cut that time. Hanging up there. Yeah, hanging up. Yeah. So it's probably the same, except the big difference is that this one is on a factory edge, and so once I do a few sharpens on it and get it to what I want it to be, yeah, it'll probably be a lot better, so stay tuned for that. Definitely this one, very disappointing to see how much that's rolled over after just 10 cuts. Very disappointing. So at least I know the new one performs better than the Ganzo. So there you go. The new knife, it is a much bigger knife, and it is to go in the new case, and I'll see how it performs on some timber, some wood, and do some tests with that and possibly compare it to the EF131. Tassie Tiger H6, there it is. So far it feels like a good knife. Performance, well, on the factory edge, yeah, pretty average, but we'll see how it goes once I start to sharpen it a few times. Have a great day. Bye.